much. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Eliot Engel, who is also here with us, like Congresswoman Maloney, almost every year is still en route back from Ukraine. And while he sent a statement which is exceedingly sympathetic and on the point for all of us, rather than read it to you verbatim, let me just say to you, he reiterates that he never was and never will be fooled by the intent of the government of Iran versus their statements, and that he is absolutely in favor of increased sanctions on Iran in advance of the likely violations which are going to come to light in the coming weeks. He's a great friend of ours, and we thank Congressman Eliot Engel because, let's be honest, on his side of the aisle, it's not easy, as Carolyn Maloney knows as well, to be so strong on this issue. Very difficult, especially with the current administration. And so now I'd like to remind you all that ZOA, the Zionist Organization of America, is the singular organization, with the exception, of course, of Americans for a Safe Israel, which we don't want to forget. But ZOA, when diplomatic circles equivocate, when the government of the United States equivocates, when many of our fellow Jews equivocate, looking for all the good and the wonderful intentions of our enemies, trying to decipher their pronouncements in a manner that is somehow good for Israel and the Jewish people, ZOA is there to expose the falsehoods, the phoniness, the fakery, and the chicanery with no apologies up front. And that's why, as important as AIPAC is to us as our chief lobbying arm of the State of Israel, the Public Affairs Committee, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, at the same time, we must have a strong ZOA to expose the lies in diplomatic and government circles here in the United States, across the world, and in the Jewish community. And I'm pleased to introduce a dear friend, Vice Chairman of the National Board of ZOA, Alan Mazurek.
Since I'm tall, I'm this close to my mouth. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here, first of all, before I say who I'm representing and why, I want to again echo Dov Hikien's words to thank all of you for coming out today. You should look at one another and really give each one of yourselves a yasher koach for coming out today on this day, the Holocaust Remembrance Day, but we prefer to call it the Erev or Eve of Yom Hashoah, and a day that we should all continue to remember for eternity, because unfortunately, as recent events show, the world is going to easily forget, and unfortunately the world will let it happen again if we don't stop them. One in particular, I'd like to really give a big yasher koach again to Lynn and Nissim Tamam, who year after year have organized this rally, and really kol hakavod to you both, doing this basically on their own. Now, I heard some people say that they're happy to be here. I'm not happy to be here. I'm happy to be with all you wonderful people, but I'm honestly not happy to be here. And I'm angry and I'm sad. I'm angry because we should have thousands and thousands of people here. Where are you, Jews? Where are you in the greatest city in the world with the largest Jewish community in the world? Where are you? That's number one. That makes me very sad and angry. Number two, I'm saddened because our so-called Jewish leadership, who are up the block basically, should have been organizing rallies like this every single year. It should not be on the shoulders of the Tamams, who have been doing this incredibly on their own, on a shoestring. It should be the organized Jewish community, our so-called leadership, and it makes me angry and sad. Now, having said that, I want to talk about one leader, though, in particular, who would have been here today. It turns out it's his mother's 92nd birthday, and Kibud Aim takes precedence. But I'm talking about Mort Klein, who is the national president of the ZOA, who I'm here representing, of course, representing the ZOA. And I will tell you that Mort does not have to tell you his bona fides for being a speaker on the Yom HaShoah. He is of course, child of Holocaust survivors and was born in a DP camp. And I too am a child of a Holocaust survivor, although in contrast to Dove's moving words about his mom, my father had it quote unquote easy. He was able to escape to Russia, and he was able to spend the war with his family in a labor camp in Siberia. So that was already easy. So you can imagine, of course, the trials and tribulations of those who had to suffer in the concentration camps. But I speak with some knowledge, experience, because, as Dove mentioned, we are one, perhaps two generations removed from the Shoah, and again, it's happening all over again. Now, we Jews, we're very intelligent people, aren't we? We're so smart that we argue with ourselves. We have a whole group of Jews over there arguing with us. We're brilliant. When it comes to arguing, we can argue from today till tomorrow. In fact, we can have peace negotiations with ourselves and come up with all sorts of plans that the other side has no intention of putting into order. We continue to do this. So let's make it very clear. This reason we're here is because Iran is threatening Israel, Jews, with annihilation. It's very simple. It's not nuanced, okay? So, and the Gemara, the Talmud tells us, Habad lahargecha, hashkeim v'hargo. If somebody comes to kill you, rise up and kill them first. It's simple. It's not complicated. Now, we realize we live in a world of diplomacy, and of course, sanctions were working. And then, unfortunately, this administration, and I'm sorry to say we do not have a friend in this administration, but this administration decided to try diplomacy. Netanyahu and his government reluctantly had to go along. Well, diplomacy has not worked, despite all you may have heard about the reduction in uranium. It is just a shell game, and there's no question that the Iranians could have a nuclear weapon within 6 to 12 months. So we have to be the voice, and while we're a small group here, this is something that we as individuals have to call upon our leadership, both our Jewish leadership and our political leadership, to continue to raise the clarion call. We are living, unfortunately, in 1938 and 1939 once again, and we, small group, our few voices have to be raised loudly. But as the Tanakh, as the Bible tells us, that you find God in that still small voice, that kol demamadaka. So even if our voices are quiet, if we raise them loud enough, God will help us. And I'll tell you what you can do. There are two bills that were passed last year. And by the way, Elliot Engel, who is terrific, was one of the co-sponsors of the bill on the House side. That was the Nuclear Iran Prevention Act of 2013. That's H.R. 850. Elliot Engel was the Democrat, the ranking member of the Democrat committee, and Ed Boyce was the chairman of the committee. That was a bill that was passed to keep the screws on the Iranians in terms of sanctions and in terms of pressure on reducing their ability or preventing their ability to have a nuclear weapon. That was on the House side. On the Senate side, it was sponsored by Senators Bob Menendez, who has been terrific in actually opposing his own party, his own administration that wanted to water down sanctions, and also Mark Kirk, who is a terrific congressman as well. And the point being is that they have the Nuclear Weapon-Free Iran Act of 2013. These are two bills that you can go online, get the information, write your congressman, your senator, let them know, tell people that this is important. The ZOA is having its D.C. mission, Washington, D.C. mission. I invite you all to come along. It's an extraordinary experience, and you can speak to senators and congressmen and their aides directly and speak about. This is tachlis. We're talking about tachlis, things that you can do that are tachlis. And I invite you all to do that. May 21st. Thank you, Liz, for giving me the exact date. May 21st. Okay, I will close by saying that everything is interconnected. You know, we are here because of Yom HaShoah and stopping Iran. But I want you to know that there are two other things that are happening this week that you should know about, and everything is connected. Number one, Richard Allen, who I saw, where is Richard? Who's been terrific, who's been outstanding, JC's founder of JCC Watch. He has a rally on Tuesday to make it clear that the Israel Celebrate Israel Parade, whatever name they call it this year, the Celebrate Israel Parade, has three organizations that support BDS. You all know what BDS is, don't you? Right? Can you imagine three organizations that support BDS are being allowed to march in the Israel Day Parade. It's only the Jews could do this. Only we could figure that out and come up with that, okay? That's on Tuesday at what time? 5 o'clock. Okay, right here in Manhattan. At UJ Federation headquarters, 59th Street. That's number one.
All flex.
Right, bring a chauffeur. It's a JCC Watch is the umbrella group that's been sponsoring it, but there are many organizations, including ZOA. Mort Klein will be there speaking. That's number one. Number two, on Wednesday, the Conference of Presidents up the block is going to have a vote whether or not to allow J Street to join the Conference of Presidents. I think we've had our vote here already. J Street has already come out and said that although Hamas and Fatah, that the Palestinian Authority and Hamas have joined in a reconciliation agreement, Israel should continue to negotiate with them. Is that not insanity? If somebody wants to kill you, do you negotiate with them? J Street is not a pro-Israel organization, and you should make it clear to your leadership, to your representatives, that J Street should not be allowed to join the Conference of Presidents. I thank you for your time. These are things of tachlis, and kol hakavod to all of you. Be well.